A very good morning to you, Desiree, and to our viewers at home. It is already a hive of activities. The unions are doing good on that promise of picketing outside the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council today. This forms part of course, a litany of other demonstrations that are also taking shape across the country as public servants are just putting pressure on the employer government to just come back to the coordinating table, to the bargaining table, to try by all means to rethink that 3% offer that was tabled in Parliament last week. We saw Cosatu unions just embarking here very early in the morning, joined by the Public Servants Association's members that are here. They are in high spirit. They are waiting for those talks to get underway so that at least they can get something that they're calling for, which is an above inflation wage offer, going to an extent of even calling for a 10% wage offer where this is concerned. But I'm going to bring into the conversation now Cosatu as First Deputy President, Mr. Mike Shingange, who joins us now. We know that very well that Cosatu has about 6 unions that are active in the public service, and you are here today and you're going to be negotiating to see it through, that at least the workers get what they deserve. Let us in on what we can expect here today.
Okay, first, Cosatu have got 8 unions here, and 7 of them have declared a dispute today here. Today is the first day of the conciliation on the dispute that we have launched some time ago. It is going to continue up at today and tomorrow. But because of the attitude and the hard stand that have been taken by the government already in the public discourse, workers have mobilized themselves here to come and support their negotiators and their leaders that are going to be here. It is also expected that the government representatives are going to be here to come and plead their case in the conciliation. So we have mobilized pickets across the country here, but also in the National Treasury and also in the DPSA, but also in other centers in all other provinces. Just to show that we are serious about finding a resolution on this dispute during this conciliation, failing which obviously when the matter is not resolved, as you can see, workers are going to embark on the rolling mass action going forward.
What would be satisfactory to the workers? We know very well that Cosatu unions last week are saying that they're going back to that 10% that they initially called for, accusing government of in any way neglecting the bargaining process and negotiating with the workers in bad faith. What would be satisfactory to the workers today?
Cosatu unions are going back to the 10% simply because the state as an employer have opted for the clause or the section in the constitution of the SABC that says the offer must fall off once 21 days passes without any signatures. So it means they went back, in our understanding, from the 0% that they started with when we started negotiations in May. That's why the workers will have started at 10%, moved to 6.5%, so they're back at 10% on that basis. What will be satisfactory for us is for the government to come here, reinstate the offer, and reopen negotiations, and we'll move forward from the 3%, because the 3%, as it were, has been rejected overwhelmingly by the majority of the unions in the PSABC. Therefore, we are looking for an improved offer so that we can see if we can meet each other halfway from the 6.5% where we are and from the 3% where government wants. So that's what we are hoping, that the facilitation here or the conciliation will take us forward.
The relationship between the workers and government seemingly getting strained by the day. We know very well that you as Cosatu form part of the tripartite alliance, and the ANC is the one that is in government and is your alliance partner. What have been the conversations that you've been having with the alliance partner to see through that at least what the workers are calling for, they actually get what they're calling for?
The relationship between the employer as a state in this instance and its employees, not only those who are in the tripartite alliance, are getting strained but by the manner in which the state is treating its employees. You remember that it is this very government that left the workers in the arbitration in 2020 and went to court. They took a resolution that they signed for 3 years, they took it to court. And as it stands now, all workers in the public service have had their pension stagnant, they've had their salary increase stagnant for the past 3 years. It is now again that we were here waiting for this day today to come for the conciliation to take place. Government left us here. They went to Parliament and announced a unilateral implementation of a 3% when they know that the public sector unions are in the process. In other words, the relationship between ourselves and the employer will always be strained by a manner in which they violate the agreements, the manner in which they violate the principle of collective bargaining and undermine even the SABC itself, which is an institution for social dialogue that is part of democratizing of the state. So we're living out the issue of the alliance now. You can see behind me here, it's not only Cosatu workers, there are workers of other federations. We are going to unite because we are defending a class interest. We are defending the interests of the workers irrespective of whether you are in alliance or not. This is a matter of the state as an employer and the disdain with which they treat their employees.
And just finally, could we see you embarking on the downing of tools nationally if you don't find joy here? Could we see the workers in the public sector embarking on a strike action?
Look, we are following all the processes that are prescribed in the Labour Relations Act, including in the dispute resolution process that are here. Today, it's a step that we hope it will prevent us going with a strike. In other words, we hope that the state will come here with an open mind, will really do the meaningful and with good faith negotiations. And then, of course, if that does not happen, there's only one way that's going to happen. We're going to have a certificate of non-resolutions, and after that, we're going to take it from that and see where going forward. We do not rule out the issue of an industrial action, because that's the only recourse that will be left after negotiations, after conciliation, and everything else. That's the only recourse that we have, because the state has other avenues, as you have seen. They went to parliament. Workers are not represented in parliament. We don't negotiate in parliament. We negotiate here. The ministers left us here. They went to an area where they know that there's no worker representative, and then they pronounce on our interest. So that's the only way that we're going to have after this today. That is the street. We're not ruling it out at all.
Mr. Mike Shingange, thank you very much, sir, for your time. He's coming through as Cosatu's first deputy president to support the workers that have gathered here in Centurion to picket and put pressure on the employer and government. We heard them there saying that they're actually thinking that actually an industrial action would be the last resort. But government really has to come back to the negotiating table. Theirs is not to negotiate in parliament, and they're calling for indeed government to come through and negotiate with them. I'm going to just step out of shot for my colleagues to show you what is happening here. They've gathered here outside. These are the workers forming part of Cosatu, part of the PSA, the public sector unions, and just coming through and with a message for the employer to say but yeah, this is where we're going to have to throw it back to you there in studio, and we're going to monitor what is happening here. Police are also on standby to guard each and everything that is happening here outside the bargaining council. It's back to you in studio, Desiree.